Hello, this is Marilyn from KK's Quilt Studio. Today we're going to talk about borders and corners and how to stitch those out on our quilt so that they line up, and any sticky situations that you might run into. So I've got another quilt on the frame. It didn't have borders on it, so I'm going to be doing this in simulation, so hope you can follow along with this. If you have questions, be sure to ask them in the comments section below or drop me an email. Just give me a holler and I'll try and answer them the best we can. First thing we're going to do is we're going to be, like I said, doing this in Simulator. I've gone ahead and put our two corners in as if I'd gone ahead and lined up my corners, stitched them out, and we need to get this tricky part in the middle here. We need to stitch daffodils in there so we have a continuous row of those. Now you will notice that this corner and this corner don't line up. It's a little bit off, but hey, that's kind of how our quilts are sometimes. They are just a tad off, and we're going to talk about that and how to fix that. So first thing we want to do is we want to measure the height of this daffodil, because that's when we set up the corners, we set it up for the height of our quilt border. So we need to measure that if we haven't already. So I'm going to start here at the very bottom and go up to the top, and that measures 2.82. So remember that number. Now we're going to go to area. Remember, your tabs are across the top, and we want to set up a 2-point area. So I am going to move, we can shut that measuring tape off. I am going to move my crosshairs right down here, and that's going to be the ending point of that daffodil. We want to be right on top of it. So you're moving your machine head and getting your needle centered right on that point where it's started or stopped stitching right there. And then we're going to go up and hit 2 corner. And then we're going to drag our machine head over, and remember, it's just a little bit higher, and we're going to position it right there and drop our second corner. So now we've got a straight line going from this side to this side. Now remember the height. We measured that daffodil. It was 2.82. We want to enter that in the area height box. Okay, and so just tap on it, click it in, and hit enter. Okay, so that gives us a box for how high our daffodils are going to be. Well, you say it's down below. That's okay. Just bear with me. Let's go up to File and Design and bring in that daffodil. Okay, that's the daffodil that we want to repeat across. So now we need to go to the Repeat tab, and we're going to press Fit. And let's do one more. Okay, and then that's a little bit too big. It's outside our area, but I'm afraid with the one that it picked for us, the only 5 repeats, it was going to be too small. So let's hit stretch twice. So once, and we'll hit it again. And there it lines up now with the ends of our box. But you say, but it's still below. What do I do? Well, first thing we're going to do is baseline so that we've saved our work so far. So with that, let's go to modify. Okay, we're going to go to modify and to rotate, and we're going to grab our machine head, move it back here to the left starting point, okay, and we're going to select 2-point, the 2-point tool, and we're going to set our starting point. Then we are going to grab our machine head and move it over to the end point. And that's right over top of that second corner on the right. And we want to go from over here and select end. Everybody see where I am on the right. So now we will go back up. We're still on the Modify tab. Go to Reposition, and we're still over here on the right corner. We're going to hit the end point, and that moves our daisies or our daffodils up into line, like I said we were gonna get. So not to worry, everything's lined up now. We're going to go back to area, and we're going to clear that area. Now remember I said these two corners didn't quite line up. If I turn on my grid, it might be a little more easier for you to see. And let me back out a little bit. You can see that this one is a little bit higher than this one. So we're going to establish a new area and set that up so we can scrunch these down, offsetting that lopsidedness of the quilt. So we're going to move the head of our machine up to what would be the top of our quilt, which is the top of these daffodils. And I want to make sure that my vertical, this up and down crosshair, it goes right through that starting point, because I don't want to miss those starting points. So if you need to zoom in on that, go ahead and zoom in. But I'm lining up, this is going to be the top of my quilt here on the right side. So let's click our first multi-point, and going on down, I'm going to come down gradually so that by the time I get over here, everything's going to line up. And again, that vertical crosshair needs to be lined up, needs to be going right through that starting point. So that's going to be my left corner. So we're going to set another multi-point there. Grab the machine head, and I want that daffodil to come down. And I'm a little off there. I want to be right through that crosshairs. Set another point, and gradually, let's undo that. I'm going to be at the bottom of that daffodil in the corner. You see how I'm lining this up right there through the crosshair, and a multi-point, okay? And gradually working my way back up to be even level with this one. Set a point there. And of course you'll be working on your quilt, so you will have actual measurements to line up. And through that crosshair there, right at the bottom of my daffodil corner on the right side. And that's my last point. Okay? And so now I am going to go back to modify. We're going to go to skew because this is an oddball shape. We're going to hit skew 2 because we've established more than 4 points. And there our daffodils fit into our wonky border. So I hope that helps. You repeat the process for down on the border. Check for the bottom border. So check and make sure that things are lining up on your quilt top. Just take a look at it, go corner to corner, taking a look at making sure that design is right where you want it. And so then you can go ahead and stitch this out. I normally turn my blocks to do the side borders. They can be done the same way, but you're going to be limited. You're going to have to chunk your borders and have good measurements. So I like to do my top borders and corners and then my bottom borders and corners. So the top and bottoms are done both the same way. Chunking is probably another video, but you can either take your quilt out, turn it so that your sides are now horizontal top and bottom, and line it up the same way. So I hope that helps those of you who had questions on how to set up corners and borders, and when they're out of kilter, how to line them up. And if you like my video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And I hope you have a great day. Thanks for joining again. And as always, happy sewing.